Good afternoon. We discussed today many aspects of the AI in care, from the molecular basis in care to remote monitoring and different uses of AI in a clinical field. And what we know is that in order to implement AI in care, we need all stakeholders collaborating together, academia, industry, and healthcare organization. And what we are going to discuss in this panel is the ecosystem, how each one of the stakeholders see the vision of AI in care, and the challenges of creating and maintaining the ecosystem. So first I'd like to introduce our guests. Maybe you want to introduce yourself, or if you can introduce yourself, you're interested in your field, in your work in AI in care, and what is your vision for AI in care?
Sure. So I'm Dr. Maya Leventer Roberts. I'm the clinical lead for Israel and a senior clinical specialist in Google. Many people ask, what is a clinician doing in Google? Google is making waves in lots of areas, and clinical medicine is not always what first comes to mind. But actually this is a time of just outstanding opportunity to impact a much needed field for innovation. And we've been actually working in AI in health for many years now, including some work that was recently presented publicly at the Google's I/O. And it really spans the breadth of population level help, such as some of the work we did during COVID in terms of vaccine access, to focused targeted use, such as some of the work led here in Israel in terms of flood prediction, really down to the point of care moment where partnerships with Google and other leading institutions, really looking at how we augment readings of mammographies, implementation of ultrasound, maternal ultrasound in the field. And I think the piece that really comes to it, and Google number of years ago published these guiding AI principles, are really what can we do that holistically benefits the society? How can we address or mitigate the inequities in health and in well-being? And how can we do that responsibly with our users? And so when we think about the impact from Google's perspective of AI broadly, and certainly in health specifically, all of these pieces come to play. And it's been the consistent approach. It's been there for years before, and will be there for years to come. And really, as we think about the vision for how we interact with our users, the focus is explicitly on the benefit we provide and how we understand our role in the larger ecosystem.
Hi, thanks for inviting me. I'm Dr. Dorit Tekes-Manova. I'm also a clinician, a physician. I'm the CEO of Hayeshua Medical Center, which is a community hospital in Bnei Brak, in the heart of the Orthodox zone of Israel. It's a small community hospital, and what we're trying actually to do, what I'm trying to do, is by getting together with other players in the ecosystem, is to try and take advantage of all the huge data that we have in the hospital. And the vision is to take this data and make something out of it. We have clinical data since 1902 in the same EMR, all the data, the clinical data, lab, imaging, ICU data, everything is in the Chameleon, which is the EMR that we're using. And if you take it into consideration, it's 15 years of approximately 500,000 meetings per year, so it's a big amount of data. And the vision is to try and use this data in order to learn the unique morbidity patterns of the community, and afterwards to try and find some algorithms in order to assess patients at risk who deviates from the planned pathway of their disease, and maybe afterwards to prevent. And that's the vision. We have a lot of thoughts, and the Xolon Institute of Technology is one of our partners. And for instance, I don't know if it's the time, but I can give you an example. One of the keywords that we have is maternity. We have like 12,000 deliveries per year, and we have huge amount of neonatal monitoring. And my vision is to take this monitoring and try and find the earliest point of fetal distress, which implies that this labor is going to be an assisted delivery and not a vaginal normal delivery. And if I can point this point of fetal distress, maybe we can do early interventions and prevent these complications and help the woman go into normal delivery. That's just one instance of something that we can do using AI.
So, hi everybody, I'm Omer, and I'm the CEO and founder of Lynx MD. Thanks Hadas for having me here. I'm a data scientist, and Lynx MD is actually the second company that I'm starting. First company did natural language understanding and AI in other places in social media. And I decided that I wanted to take it into healthcare. And I teamed up with my co-founders, and we started looking at what's the potential of AI in healthcare and what can we do. And you know, first thing you feel is this overwhelming sensation of frustration. Okay, there's a ton of data in healthcare. It turns out 97% of the data, that's a new number that I haven't heard before, 97% of the data is not used. And I think, you know, we saw a lot of talks here today that really talk about very small parts of the data that actually exists in places like Hayeshua. And what we decided to do with Lynx MD is to help healthcare provider organizations make their data accessible, build that ecosystem, and actually unlock all of the data and all of the potential that's in the data to the scientific community, to the industry. And anybody that can and wants to do something with the data to develop applications. Today we have data from over 400 million patient encounters on the platform. We are the infrastructure for, in Israel, Clalit, for the Ministry of Health, but also in the US we have one of the greatest data sets in the IBD space, in gastroenterology, in asthma, ears, nose, and throat, and I think we have applications of people working with the data, developing AI computer vision on medical images, natural language processing, genomics data, sequencing data, and also, of course, everything that gets accumulated inside of the electronic medical record system inside of the hospitals. So thanks again for having me today, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. My name is Refael Barkan. I'm the Vice President for Innovation, Entrepreneurship, and Internationalization at AI2. I'm a physician, MD, PhD, but I have longer roots as a computer scientist in the School of Computer Science at the IDF, Israeli Defense Forces. And I've studied both medicine and computer science, and it was really hell. Today they have a very good program at the Hebrew University, computational medicine, but very few really are lucky to study in that program. And after fulfilling my role as a physician, because I was, sorry, the clinicians, I was quite bored, I went into the digital health domain, worked with the two HMOs, 2 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 HM even founded 2 startups. But then I realized that the best impact that I should have on the future of the medical studies, and meaning integrating technology and AI into them, because it was back then in 2012, 2014, that it was already needed, is going into the academy. I was in the academy. I was in one of the biggest universities in Israel, but it's very tough to create such pioneering programs and even talk about multidisciplinary. So I arrived here in 2014 and started building infrastructure, R&D infrastructure, that was focused on digital health. Had ties with the 2 HMOs, where I met Hadas, Maccabi, and Klalit. And then we started building a very exciting infrastructure, R&D, applied research that focused on AI in medicine in several domains of knowledge, clinical domains. But you know, in order to get funds from the Council of Higher Education, you need to have a real academic program. So in 2016, we started thinking about initiating a new academic program that will integrate AI and technology into the medical curricula. I traveled the world for, I think, almost a year, seeking for similar programs, trying to understand and realize what is the best way to integrate technology and AI into the medical curricula. Talked with a lot of deans of medical schools. They all told me, no chance. We don't have room for even one course in AI. I think today the answer would have been slightly different. Not much, but slightly different. So I decided to build a new pre-med program that actually is a combination of data science in clinical environments and medical sciences, all the necessary courses that are needed according to what we call according to the Council of Higher Education, in order to proceed for the 4-year clinical program, but at the same time prepare the students for being healthcare data analysts, that they can bridge the 2 worlds, technology and medicine. So I see the role of the academy, which we are here, is to actually create the bridge between these magnificent 2 worlds, and we are moving on. I will elaborate later, but we are moving more on to master's degrees, even international programs, and so on. So this is, and Hadas is a very good partner.
Thank you. Rafi talked about our activity in the field of educating new generation that can bridge the gap between medicine and AI. And I would like to ask you, in your environment, I mean, you as a company that is focused on a platform of data science, and Dorit that has, actually it's not the main business of the hospital, and you need to invest a lot of effort to train and to motivate your staff to do this extra work and learning of AI developing and implementing in clinical trials and creating new models of care. And Maya is representing a large industry that is focusing on different type of products. When you're looking forward, what type of expertise would you like your staff, your employees to have in order to push this process ahead? You start.
Well, I think that medical centers, hospitals, have two major assets in this ecosystem. First, the data. The data is driven out of the clinical activities that we're doing every day. So that's one thing. And the other one is the clinicians. The clinicians have the knowledge, the expertise, they can ask the questions, but most of them do not have the knowledge about what to do with the data and nothing about data scientists or analysts or AI. And that's a new language that all should learn, because whether we want it or not, probably that's the future. And I think that's why I was so fond of Rafi's ideas about the new pre-med program and everything, because I think that if we're looking to the future, the new physicians, the next generation, they should talk both languages, and they should be both good clinicians, know to treat people, have empathy and stuff, but they also should know about data and the importance of data and what to do with the data and how to use helping support systems and how to do to use the AI for personalized medicine. And when I was in medical school, we learned about the treatment. It was one treatment for all. Now we know that there are plenty of ways to treat people, and it's personalized, and we have data about different populations, and the AI helps us in those decision platforms. So I think the future is a combination of two, and those will be better integrators and help the ecosystem more than our generation.
So I love what you just said, because that's actually why I named the company Lynx. I think that, you know, at the end of the day, everybody wants to drive patient care forward, and we want to bring in new models of care, new therapies, faster diagnosis tools. And to do that, we really need those three things. It's the medical expertise on one side, the data science and the data investigation expertise on the other side, and the data itself. These are the three things that we need in order to move this industry forward. And if we are to do that, we need to find a way to iterate faster, try more, test more, get more into the point of care, and collect the feedback and improve the results. This is an ongoing process. We have to continuously improve. And to get it done, we really need those three types of experts, or two types of experts, and the data itself to work together to push it forward. And if we are to succeed, I think that's the key for making it happen.
So as you may all have noticed, Google and others aren't hiring so much these days. And so my first comment would actually be, do what you're doing now really, really well. Because much of so Google's mission, anybody who's interviewed for Google or knows, so Google's mission is to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Okay? To organize information, right? It's not to build products, it's not to make new devices, it's to organize the information. And so there's an implicit understanding in that, is that we presume someone's going to want to use that information. And I kind of presume the people who are going to want to use that information are sitting right here. So the first comment I would say is really be a person who will use that information. Develop the skills that will enable you, as you say, to use the data that's not being used. And the second point that I would say that goes along with that is people who can be, as they say, sort of on the dance floor and in the balcony and go between those spaces is incredibly important, because Google doesn't release perfect tools the first round. Okay, Google depends on that shif-shuf, on that interaction with our users in order to learn. That is inherent in our design, and we see that over and over again. That is where we get better. And so the kinds of people that work in Google, the kinds of people that work with Google, and the kinds of people who leverage Google are the kinds of people who know how to do that, who know how to make a product, find where it doesn't work, learn how to make it better, and learn to use it to own ends. And I'll just reference, we have a group called Open Health Stack that has produced open source for developers to do just this in healthcare. Okay, this is the idea, is that we produce the skills, but you all are the people who have to use it. And so that would be my recommendation as you think of the skills, both early in your career, middle in your career, late in your career. Be the kind of person who knows how to use those data.
And what about the population, a large population that is not users?
So I would say everyone's a user, right? Like, so, you know, who has Gmail, right? Like,
do you see yourself as educating, as approaching those who are not the experts?
So if you look at the Google Health website, the mission is billions of healthier lives, right? Like, no one is immune here, right? We're all there, and I think it's really important to work at multiple layers to work in regulation, but as a pediatrician by training, I firmly believe that impact and education starts at home and starts with the family and starts with the individual. And if it doesn't happen there, it won't happen no matter what kind of regulation you put in place.
Dorit, what about your staff? I mean, how you motivate them to use, to trust the AI, or to collaborate in generating AI? How do you advise other managers to motivate their staff?
Well, as you know, there are external and internal motivations. The external ones are, you know, academic affiliation and stuff that clinicians love, because otherwise they can't go ahead. But I think along the years, I saw that there are some people with internal motivation for learning, for using data, for research, and others are less motivated. And if you can arrange teamwork, then those with the internal motivation can pull ahead those with the less motivation. And since it's the future, it's contagious. It's contagious. Mm-hmm. And since it's the future, there is no choice. I mean, if nowadays you can't avoid it. Those who say, okay, it's not for me, they'll be left in the back.
And I've actually taking what you said, I'm asking myself, actually, Omer, you're in the field for a few years, and you developed over time from pilots in hospitals to large platforms like the Kinneret or Klalit. Do you see a change in the demand, in their approach, in the attitude of implementing such platform, using them? How you see the process of implementing tools for developing and researching data?
I think there are changes. So it's a slow process. Somebody said, you know, revolutions happen, you know, slowly, and then all of a sudden. I think ChatGPT is kind of that effect, has kind of that effect over the industry. It used to be that you have to motivate people to do something with AI. You have to push it forward. You know, some people want to be researchers, and some people just don't and leave me alone. On the practitioner side, I think I see that changing. Okay, it's pretty evident for people that either they're going to start using the tools or they're going to become irrelevant very, very soon.
And it's at the level of the people, the clinicians, the staff, or organizations?
Organizations are well past it. Okay, so you know, 10 years ago, people didn't want to touch data. Okay, like there wasn't any data to touch in the US. In Israel, organizations been collecting data for years, but they were just not there. Everybody was afraid, cybersecurity. There are a lot of reasons why not to do something. I think today everybody is seeing the promise, and also the money is a big part of it. Okay, like it's all of those grants and all of the industry funds that are flowing into the healthcare organizations are a big motivator. And also you see case studies like Flatiron being sold to Roche, and everybody understands that this data is very, very valuable. It's valuable to the industry, it's valuable to patients, because at the end of the day, that's what's bringing that technology to
It's a driver, the patient or driver?
The patients are drivers. I'll say one example, we just announced one of our partnerships in the US. It's one of the biggest GI gastroenterology groups in the US. And they, all of the three factors go into this. One of them is definitely driving better patient care, pushing the quality forward, and then integrating innovative technology. It also has a monetary aspect, because if they show that they are providing the best quality of care at the lowest total cost in their region and in their specialty, then they're going to be able to negotiate better contracts with payers, so it factors into it. But they really want to drive better patient care. And they want to work with industry, they want to drive technology forward. Of course, they don't want to be friars and leave money on the table. So everything goes together. Luckily, I think today there are models that put everything into one bucket and drive these collaborative projects forward. And we've seen that all over the place. The technological barrier is a big one. Cybersecurity being like on the front page of the news with data breaches and all of that, that's a hurdle everybody has to go through. But it's happening today. And it's gradually happening.
What about sharing data, regulation between countries and continents?
So that's a really important point, okay? Our model and the model we developed at Lynx actually means that the healthcare organizations stay in control of their data, okay? So they're giving access to the data, but they're not sending the data out. And that's a model, even 5 years ago, with HIPAA in place and de-identification, a lot of people were sharing data out and basically selling access to the data. That's changing because of GDPR, because of CCPA and all of the privacy laws. It's also changing because of the power of the data. So when you de-identify the data to begin with, you're left with a very small part of the data that you can use, okay? And I think a lot of the analysis that we're seeing around COVID and around epidemiology are actually those types of analysis. If you want to look into, deep into the patient record, you want to look at the labs, the imaging data. Genomics data is something that's identifiable by definition, and that becomes a lot more complicated, and you actually need these platforms that allow you to research the data in place instead of taking the data out. So that is a barrier, and there, for each one of these barriers, there's a technological solution on how to solve it, and then it becomes a matter of, upfront investment.
So this is actually, the vision is developing new technologies to enable it.
I think the vision is about sharing of the data and unlocking the potential of the data.
The way is developing.
And the ways,
developing
is about
the technologies.
The technology as an enabler,
Rafi, I'd like to ask you about the role of academia, actually in all what we've heard. Do you think we should focus on the new generation, next generation? Do you think we should educate the existing, a lot of the staff and employees that are now working and know more or need to know more? Where you see the role of academia? Is it ex-academic, academic?
Both, I think. First of all, we need to to actually take care of the current generation of physicians. ChatGPT is here, AI is here, and as I said in the morning, AI will not replace physicians, but a physician that knows AI will replace physicians that doesn't. So I think that first of all, the legit organizations like IMA and the others should, and they are doing some work regarding that, they should keep on training existing physicians and integrating AI into the practice. There are segments that are early adopters, radiologists, cardiologists, and so on, but at the same time, there are segments that are not so keen on adopting technology and AI, for instance, emergency medicine and others. I think there should be also personalization in that methodology of how to integrate AI and technology to their practice. Actually, here we are doing both. We are doing ex-academic programs for physicians, but other healthcare professionals, together with pharma, together with the Israeli Innovation Authority. But at the same time, we need to take care of the next generation of healthcare professionals in general, nurses, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, physicians, and the future healthcare data analysts that actually are the ones that talk in both languages, and how to better promote them and take their natural position in research teams and innovation centers, pharma companies, insurance companies, startups, and so on. But at the same time, I think that academia has another role. I would phrase it as creating playgrounds for actually providing or creating together with researchers and students, and by that training them, of creating solutions to unmet clinical needs in the clinical environments in hospitals and community medicine, and tailoring solutions that are technology and AI based. And students today are not the students that we met 5 and even 2 years ago. They are more curious, with a lot of ambition, and they seek for further sources of information. ChatGPT, we need to embrace it, to integrate it into the curriculum. And I think one of the ways to actually better educate these students is learning by doing, learning by practicing, presenting them with the challenges, and through that, actually I think, and we saw that in our program, they understand better both the needs, but also the solutions and the algorithms and everything that is related to that.
I completely agree, and I think that actually academia can provide a lot of benefits to the whole ecosystem, because healthcare organization or even companies, small companies, do not have the attention or the resources to develop the methodologies and educate the next generation, but they can benefit a lot from collaborating and putting their input into it. And I think that this is the basis for the collaboration. And I'd like to open the floor for question if anyone wants to share their ideas, opinion, questions. Yes.
I have a question for Dr. Omer about the security. I know this is kind of outside the scope of medicine, but I'm a person who's been in the field, and as you mentioned, 10 years ago, people had a reluctancy to provide data to companies, to all kinds of places. And I think my main question is, other than the monetary reasons, how has this changed since I don't see that there is a stronger security, and at the same time, need it to be stronger because of providing more solutions and extrapolating data.
So that's actually a really, really important question, even though in any forum, by the way, even though we're talking about data science and medicine, all of that doesn't happen without solving that very basic question. And we have to be very thoughtful and very comprehensive in how we look at the security. And I think when you look at healthcare organizations today, the on-premise security is a lot weaker than what you do in all of these new applications. And what really changed is, first of all, how they treat that. Okay, so everybody's becoming better. Okay, and security is becoming more common practice. Everybody has suffered through breaches and know how to treat breaches in terms of compliance and certification. Things have gotten better in the last 10 years. And it's become a topic that every board in every organization, not just hospitals and not just healthcare organizations, is actively aware of and is talking about. I think the technology did get back better, but it got better on both sides, both on the defensive side and on the offensive side. I think awareness is a lot better, and the protocols are a lot better, and they'll just need to improve. So this is something that, this is one war that I don't think anybody's ever going to win. We're just going to have to keep fighting it, but we can't let it stop medical innovation. Okay, we have to live with it, frankly.
Question for Dr. Barkan. You mentioned a moment ago something very nice, that you don't believe that AI will replace physicians, but rather that physicians using AI will replace those that don't, who don't. Now here's the question for you. Whoever goes nowadays to the Holim sees the family doctor looking more on the screen than at the patient. How can you ensure and enforce that the same doctor, under the pressure of time, wouldn't rely eventually solely on the AI? He's a physician who uses the AI, but wouldn't rely solely on the AI, but would also put his own head at work.
Well, it's a very tough question, and I think since you are a computer scientist, as I remember you from my service, the IDF, we share the same unit, by the way. So I think that one of the pitfalls of medical informatics is the EMR, the electronic medical record. And I think you will agree with me, absolutely. Since I'm half computer scientist and half physician, I can tell you that the EMR was written by engineers, computer scientists. It was actually, I think, a bit of imported from other domains of knowledge to medicine, but it's not it is not built in the natural way that we physicians think and act upon. I've not been practicing in wards, but I think, as I remember, when we did the morning visit, the head of department or the senior physician, it took him something like 1 or 2 minutes to tell the story of the patient. Physicians are storytellers. The EMR prevents us from being a storyteller. So we actually, the data is fragmented. To answer a quite simple question regarding a complex patient, it can take you something like 26 screens to move on, and by that you are losing the context and you are going back and forth. So I think that if you will tackle that problem and be courageous to tackle that problem, because you need to be courageous. Why? Because the EMR vendors are giants. And if you will adapt it will come with a new way of thinking. By the way, some of the technology is going there, building some kind of, semantic layers above EMRs that can give you very short storytelling of the complex patient. So if you do that and use AI for that, you will free valuable time for the physician to actually pay attention to the patient. The patient is seeking, and sometimes when the physician is looking at the screen, the patient is doing movements. I have pain here, I have pain. He wants to catch his eyesight and attention. And there were also some research and papers concerning how to transform the physician workplace in some kind of a way that the screen will not be between them. Put it on the, but it didn't help. So I think that, on the contrary, AI, if you integrate it wisely into the EMR and transform it into a real tool that will help the physician to build his story, I think that both patient and physicians will benefit from that.
So actually the industry has to take care of integrating the technology the right way.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
And I'd like to add to that, because we see the change. We're working with the clinicians, and we're developing according to their needs and what they're asking us. And I think we can see the difference today compared to what happened a few years ago in what they're asking. They're asking for very specific AI tools that will help them make a decision, and they want it to be integrated according to the way they're thinking. And this is actually a result of what you described earlier. Physicians want to use a tool that they will understand. They don't want a solution. When companies use the black box, nobody used it. So we are now developing with the physicians according to their way of thinking, so they can understand and make a decision. And I think this is the strength of the new generation of AI. I think you wanted to add.
Yeah, I want to add something. It's really a very important question that you asked, and I think that what actually happened along the years that organizations, not the physicians, made the physicians slaves of the EMR. And instead of the EMR serves the physician and helps the physician organize the data, it became the opposite. It's like a double-edged sword. And nowadays, lots of the physicians, especially in the community, since the HMOs are measured about stuff, is really a slave to the computer, and the physician doesn't have the time to communicate and to listen to the patient. Instead, he's very busy, or she's very busy, fulfilling all the fields in order the database to be perfect, in order the AI tools to be used. So it's a vicious cycle.
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to bow out early, slave to returning the car. But I'll just say solutions are beyond the healthcare field. And so when we think about the future of healthcare and AI, we also have to think about incredible solutions that are being developed outside of this field. And many of those have to do with communication and empathy and enabling both patients and providers, who are, in essence, both people, to be able to do their jobs and to get on to the rest of the things they need. So I think, expanding where we look and how we look beyond, what are very specific healthcare-focused tools to really look at people-serving tools, I think will be fantastic. I apologize.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you, Maya. Thank you, everyone. Thank you